Bonjour, guten Morgen, guten Morgen. Welcome to Strasbourg in Alsace, France. You can hear the bells of the cathedral behind me, and today we're doing something exciting. We're going to be walking from France to Germany. Donc, allons-y, los geht's! The city of Strasbourg lies on the border between France and Germany, and the first town after the border in Germany is Kehl. And we're going to be taking the tram from here in the centre of Strasbourg at Homme de Fer. We're in Place Kléber just now, and Homme de Fer is just over there. And from Homme de Fer, we'll take it to the Port du Rhin. And the Port du Rhin literally means port of the Rhine. So we'll get off there and then walk through a lovely garden called the Jardin des Deux Rives, literally the garden of the two banks. And that will become clearer when we get there. Now you can buy your ticket at the ticket machine, or as it says on the sign, Fini les files d'attente. The waiting lines are over, because you can of course buy it on the CTS app, and that's what I've done today. Now it's amazing what you can learn while you're waiting for the tram. I've often wondered why this part of Strasbourg was called Homme de Fer, why this station of the tram was called Homme de Fer, and it turns out Homme de Fer, man of iron, is the name of the first train that travelled in 1843 on the line between Strasbourg and Colmar. So there you go, we've learned something new today. And here is our tram.
Prochaine station, Port du Rhin. Terminus.
So this line D of the tram, and the trams go between Petite and Kehl Rathaus, so the town hall in Kehl, and they go back and forward all day long, crossing the border all the time. Now we're going to get off at Port du Rhin, as you may have heard. That's the terminus, the final destination for this particular tram. So we'll get off at Port du Rhin and make our way to the Jardin des Deux Rives. Looks like we're heading in the right direction pour le Jardin des Deux Rives tout droit. So here we are, we can see the French flag on one side, the German flag on the other side, and of course the flag of the EU uniting them both in the middle. And if you can just look over there, you might see a bridge. And that bridge is how we are going to walk to Germany. So you can see here, le Jardin des Deux Rives is also called der Garten der zwei Ufer, so the garden of the two banks. And it seems to have recently celebrated its 20th birthday. The garden was first opened in 2004, and since then it's been a place where people have come to enjoy being outdoors, to wander, to cycle, to have a picnic, and just to enjoy themselves. And it was constructed on both sides of the river, hence les deux rives, the two banks of the river Rhine. So we're currently on the French side, and we're now going to head over to the German side.
It's easy to forget, walking across so freely like this, that this border hasn't always been here. Strasbourg has actually been German more than once in its history, most recently during the Second World War. The whole region has shifted back and forward between France and Germany over the centuries, often as a result of war or conflict. So this short walk is more meaningful than it looks.
I've always found border towns to be fascinating places. A long time ago, I used to live in Menton in France, on the Italian border, right in the south coast. And it was great because we were able to pop into Italy for lunch. And I guess that's what we're doing today here. I just find it amazing that that is France, and then that is Germany, and there's just a river and a bridge separating these two countries. Now, we're in France just now, donc on va parler en français, et nous allons continuer à parler en français jusqu'à ce qu'on passe la frontière allemande. Und jetzt sind wir in Deutschland. Also, wir müssen Deutsch reden. Das ist wunderbar. Now, just a reminder, if you'd like to learn French, si vous voulez apprendre le français, or if you'd like to learn German, wenn Sie Deutsch lernen wollen, you can do so, and you can learn many other languages on your coffee break. Head to coffeebreaklanguages.com or click the link in the description. Of course, it's not always as easy to travel from one country to another, but here, no border control, no passports needed. We can just walk straight over from France into Germany. Let's go and discover Kehl now. We're walking through a residential part of Kehl here, and I didn't really expect there to be much difference in the architecture. The houses here are very similar to those in Strasbourg, but then in Strasbourg already there's a difference in the architecture compared to other parts of France, so I guess it makes sense that even on both sides of the border the houses are very similar.
And the reason the architecture is so similar isn't a coincidence. For most of its history, this whole area on both sides of the Rhine was one shared cultural region, with the same Germanic dialect and the same building traditions. The fonts on the road signs may tell you that you're in Germany today, but the bricks and beams remember a longer shared history.
No matter where I am, whether I'm in France or Germany or anywhere, I always like to try reading signs, adverts, some notices in the street and so on, and trying to work out what they mean and trying to work out how they would be pronounced also. And this is something that we actually have made into a series called Walk, Talk and Learn over on Coffee Break TV. So if you've not seen that already, check that out. There's a link in the description. Entschuldigung, wie komme ich am besten zum Rathaus?
Zum
Zum
Rathaus?
Rathaus.
Sie laufen jetzt hier genau geradeaus.
Ja.
Bis Ampel.
Bis zur Ampel, also
Ja.
immer geradeaus. Und dann
Und
sehen Sie rechts gucken, da
Ja.
sind Sie schon direkt
Perfekt,
am Rathaus.
vielen Dank. I've obviously got maps on my phone, but it's better fun sometimes to practice your German. So we've arrived at the Rathaus tram stop here in Kehl, and I can see that there is a tram in 16 minutes and a tram in 40 minutes. Either way, I think that gives us time to sit down and have something cold to drink. Hallo, ich hätte gerne ein großes Bier, bitte. Ja, Pilz, ja, danke.
Wir nehmen keine Kaffee. Und die Milch.
Ja, stimmt. Ja, okay. Danke sehr.
Schön.
Danke. Also, zum Wohl. À la vôtre. Cheers. Now, as I've enjoyed my beer, I have even done a little bit of language learning too, because this, I don't know whether you'll be able to see this. Let me see if I can focus on it. So this says, das muss sich nicht im Keller verstecken. And it's talking about a particular beer, this Kellerpils des Jahres. So it's the cellar beer of the year. And the idea is that it must not be hidden away in the basement because it's so good, apparently. So, das muss sich nicht im Keller verstecken. You shouldn't hide this particular beer away in the basement, in the cellar, because it's a great beer. So, yeah, there's always an opportunity to learn. Just while I'm waiting on the tram here, I'm wondering, do you live in a border town? Or would you like to live in a border town? Do you like the idea of popping into another country for a coffee or for a meal or to buy something that's perhaps cheaper in that country? Let me know in the comments. And the tram is now arriving, so let's get on and head back over to France and over to Strasbourg. I want you to look out for something here, because as we are going along this journey, the announcements in Germany are in German, of course, as it said, nächster Halt, Kehl Bahnhof. But then when we get over to France, the announcements will be French. And we are just about to cross the border.
Prochaine station, Langstrasse, Grand Rue.
Now we got off the tram one stop early at Langstrasse, Grand Rue, because I wanted to take you down to Petite France for the final section of this video. We've seen today how French and German are used by the people who work and live here in Strasbourg and in Kehl, and how they're used by the local authorities and the organisations. For example, we saw in the park the signs in French and German. We heard how the tram announcements changed from German to French as we passed over the border. And these languages, French and German, or whatever other language you're learning, they're the objects of our study. For language learners, they're what we focus on. But for the people who live here, they're just facts of life. They're the way that they communicate in their daily life. And so perhaps we can take some inspiration from that and think about how we can use the languages that we're learning in our daily life to increase the opportunities we get to speak them. Now, this area is not just about French and German, it's also about Alsacien, the local language of Alsace. It's a Germanic language, but it has some French influences, and you see it on the street signs here, you hear it spoken in certain areas. If you'd like me to do a video about Alsacien, let me know. And as I stand here, there's a large group just walked past, literally speaking English, French, Italian, German, Spanish, and some other languages as well. It is a very multilingual city, partly because of the European institutions which can be found here, but also because it attracts so many tourists from all over the world. And that's one of the reasons why I love Strasbourg. So as I'm standing here, someone's just come up to me and said she thinks she knows me from Coffee Break. So come into camera. What's your name?
Emma.
Emma, where are you from?
I'm originally from Germany, but I live here in France for my studies.
Okay, and so how do you know Coffee Break?
I practiced my Italian with that while I had it in high school.
Benissimo.
Yeah,
Grazie mille.
Yeah.
So what are you doing in Strasbourg?
I study geography and urban planning, and I'm part of ESN, like Erasmus Student Network. So now today we're doing a city tour.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I will let you get on with the city tour. Really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for joining me today on this walk from France to Germany and our return journey on the tram. We've done about 8,500 steps, if that gives you an indication of how far we've walked. We'll be back with more language and travel related content very soon, but for now, vielen Dank, merci beaucoup, and happy coffee breaking.